What is up everyone, it is Sacred Saiyan here, welcoming you back to the long awaited second season of What If Goku Was in My Hero Academia. If you guys haven't seen the first season, there'll be a link to the full series video in the description, and with this return of the series, I will also make my return to editing. So if you end up liking today's video, then please consider subscribing. It is free, and you can always unsubscribe later. There's a link in the description of the video to join my Discord server, and also to become a channel member if you want to support the channel. I have another channel where I post Star Wars what ifs, and I also have a gaming channel as well, so if you want to check them out in the description of the video, then you can. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into the first episode of the second season of What If Goku Was in My Hero Academia. At the end of the last video, it was revealed to Goku that he doesn't come from Earth. He's an alien of some kind, and Goku has been forced to live with that ever since the events of the last season transpired. Since the last season ended, Goku's origins have been kept secret from anyone who wasn't already notified, and Goku and Momo have gotten much closer, spending much more time together, as after Goku nearly lost Momo for good in the battle against Overhaul, he doesn't want to waste the time he has with her. Not only this, but Endeavor has also taken up the position of the #1 hero, and gained a lot of respect after defeating a high-end Nomu at the cost of permanently scarring his body, and nearly losing his life. We now arrive at the time where Class 1A will battle against Class 1B. And Goku's hero uniform was mostly destroyed during his battle with Overhaul, and he's begun to design a new one, but for the time being, he has to wear his old training gear. And as a part of Goku's training, Aizawa tells Goku to stay in your base form for the entire time, as if you go into either of your transformation states, you wouldn't really get much of a challenge. Goku agrees, so he says he won't transform, though a cocky blonde boy from Class 1B called Monoma says that they should let him use his full power. Class 1B will win anyway! Aizawa blatantly says that Goku is approximately 5 times as powerful as All Might was in his last battle in Goku's strongest form, so he's already more powerful than every pro hero. So no, he will not be allowed to use that power here. All the students look at Goku, shocked expressions on all of their faces, as they knew Goku is powerful, but this is surreal. Goku then cheerfully smiles, scratching the back of his head, and saying that he isn't the only strong one in their class. Goku then looking towards Midoriya, Todoroki and Bakugo, and giving them a thumbs up. Shinso then arrives, to the surprise of all the students, and Shinso introduces himself before saying that he already faced some of them in the sports festival, but that doesn't make them friends. They are all still competing to be the best, and they are all just obstacles in the way of him achieving that goal. Everyone applauds Shinso for his seriousness and determination, and Vlad King then begins to explain how the battles will work. They will be put into teams of 4, with members of their specific class, and they will each compete one at a time. With Shinso being here, the number of students evens out to 42, so one of the matches will be a 5-on-5. Vlad King then explains the scenario. Their own hero agency is trying to capture a villainous organization. They should consider their opponents to be evil criminals. Their team will win if they capture 4 competitors. In their team's base camp, they will find a prison. Once they put their enemies behind bars, that will count as a capture. Everyone then draws their lots, and it is coincidentally the 5th battle, which will be a 5-on-5. Goku being the 5th member of Class 1A's team, and Shinso being the 5th member of Class 1B's team. Deku is excited for his rematch against Shinso. He still has questions about the vestiges of One For All, but right now, he's excited to see how Shinso fights, and he wonders what new abilities he has learned. The first match then starts, Aizawa and Vlad's last words being that if there is no decisive victory before the time is up, then the team with the most captures will win. With Class 1A's team not having Shinso on their side this time around, their strategy has to change. Koda first has 2 birds scout the area, but before they have time to strike, they are surprise attacked by Shishida, who has a beast quirk, and Kosei, who has a solid air quirk. Kaminari is the only one left standing after their first attack, and he dashes towards the pair with lightning fast speed, but Kosei jumps off of Shishida, and Shishida grabs Kaminari, but Kaminari simply smirks, saying nice grip there bro, before his body is engulfed by lightning, and Shishida is hit with a giant electric shock, throwing Kaminari away to stop the onslaught, but Shishida is still being electrocuted. And as Kosei goes to try help his teammate, Froppy grabs him with her tongue and begins to run away. Shishida fights through the lightning and begins to chase after Froppy. Kaminari being surprised as to how Shishida isn't knocked out, but he knows he has to stop him now. But Kirishima and Koda get up. Kirishima shouting that they've got this, as they both attempt to hit Shishida, but he reverts to his human form, dodging their punches before going back to his beast form. But before he grabs the pair, Kaminari dashes over to them, pushing them both out of the way, and Shishida grabs him, but not wanting a second round of electric shock. He quickly throws Kaminari before he gets a chance to do anything, and he is sent flying in the direction of Ibara. But Koda sends a hawk after him, which grabs Kaminari by the shirt before he goes too far. All of Class 1A is growing stronger due to the presence of Goku, and they will all prove how strong they have become. Froppy managed to capture Kosei, so in a panic, Shishida wants to even the odds, and quickly grabs Koda before jumping away to his camp, dodging all of the incoming attacks with his incredible sense of smell, and capturing Koda, meaning both teams are down one member. The members of Class 1B then begin to discuss their strategy, but Shishida gets nervous as he tells his teammates that he can smell fray Froppies coming their way. Ibara then says that she will get them, sending her vine-like hair in the direction Shishida tells her, and she then says she got one, dragging Kaminari out and trapping him in a ball of hair in order for his lightning to be ineffective. But as she gloats about their victory over him, Kirishima then jumps down, landing a punch in Ibara's head, which knocks her out cold, and he then jumps towards Shishida and begins to throw a flurry of punches towards him. Shishida was distracted by the capture of Kaminari, which gave Kirishima the perfect opening he needed. Rin is then about to run over to Ibara, but Froppy grabs the unconscious body of Ibara and quickly begins to jump around with her unconscious body, and as Rin is about to fire multiple attacks at her, the freed Kaminari hits him with one of his discs and fires a large electric shock straight at him, knocking him out as well. Froppy quickly grabs Rin as well, as she begins to run away, and it is now Kaminari and Kirishima vs Shishida. Kirishima is keeping Shishida at bay, while Kaminari runs around the giant beast and shoots every disc he has at him, before Kirishima jumps back and Kaminari hits the beast with a giant electric shock. Kirishima then running up to the shocked Shishida, and with a powerful uppercut, the beast is finally put down. And after they take him to their team's prison, Class 1A wins the first round, with only one of their members being captured. All the other matches remain relatively the same, until the 5th match, which with Goku there will be a significant difference. Goku knows he will be their enemy's main target as the strongest on their team, so using Midoriya's strategy, he separates himself from them, and Midoriya does the same by going in a separate direction, and then Goku begins to try out something he has been practicing. Goku closes his eyes, and he begins to sense where everyone is. Goku has been trying to find more ways to use his energy abilities, and he discovered he could sense other people with it. So with him doing this, he senses where all of the enemies are, but as he is about to fly towards one of them, Goku's eyes widen as he sees giant black and blue tendrils in the sky. Goku begins to fly towards the origin point of the tendrils, as he sees Uraraka holding onto Midoriya as they are in the sky, and more tendrils come out of Midoriya, destroying the surrounding area as they form. Shinto then uses his quirk on Midoriya at the request of Uraraka, stopping the onslaught, and Midoriya sees a man in the Vestige world, who tells him he is going to need to work even harder to control the new abilities he will unleash. The quirks of every previous One For All user are inside of him now, and he will have to control them all. The one he just displayed was his quirk, Black Whip, and One For All responds to his emotions, so if he doesn't control them, then they will control him. Midoriya then wakes up as Uraraka slaps him, and as they land on the ground, Midoriya apologizes profusely, and as he is about to walk towards Uraraka, Monoma rushes to attack Midoriya from the behind, but Goku gets in the way and simply chops him on the neck, knocking him out. Goku then throws Midoriya up to Shinso in order for them to have their one-on-one fight, while Goku along with the rest of the team fight the other 3 members of Class 1B. Deku and Shinso's fight plays out just like normal, and obviously with Goku helping the rest of their team, it is a complete breeze for winning the match. With this, like in canon, Class 1A are the victors of the class clash. And I think this is a good place for us to end off this part. So in the last video, I covered the events of Class 1A fighting against Class 1B. But in today's video, I'm going to be covering one of the My Hero Academia movies, which goes by the name My Hero Academia Heroes Rising. But to be perfectly honest with you, I have no idea where in the timeline this movie would actually take place. We know it takes place after the battle between All Might and All For One, since All Might can no longer use One For All. And it happens before the events of the last video, as Deku doesn't have Black Whip yet. but I don't know if it happens before or after the events of the Overhaul arc. So for the sake of this what if, we're going to have it take place after the events of the Overhaul arc. This video begins on Nabu Island. Class 1A has been sent there to run their very own hero agency, as there has recently been a surge of villain activity in Japan due to the #1 hero All Might being retired. Some members of Class 1A are currently on the beach, doing their hero duties, and Choji says that they've got a kid who's in trouble. They swam out past the rocks. Osui swims towards the kid, grabbing them with her tongue before throwing them into the air, where Goku flies in, catching the kid, and flies back to the beach before putting the kid down, and telling him to be more careful. While this is happening, other students are off helping people in different areas of the island, and Jiro, Uraraka, and Deku begin the search for a missing child, eventually coming across a boy who is missing, called Katsuma, but it turns out his sister who made the call to begin with was already there waiting with him, and she scolds Deku for taking over an hour to find him. The two children then walk off, Katsuma thanking Deku before being dragged away by his sister. He says there's no reason to thank him, and even though Jiro and Uraraka believe it is ridiculous that Deku had to apologise, Deku doesn't mind it, saying as long as Katsuma is safe, that's all that really matters. We head back to Class 1A's hero agency office, where a bunch of the islanders come in and give the students a giant feast to show their gratitude and appreciation for all the hard work they've been doing. But by the time everyone is finished cheering, Goku is already halfway through eating the entire feast, so the others quickly rush to grab food to stop Goku from eating all of it. After everyone has eaten, all the students go to sleep, leaving Bakugo to do the night watch as he has done nothing since they have arrived, and Goku and Midoriya are doing a small sparring match outside. By this point, All Might believed it was okay for Goku to know the secret of One For All, so All Might and Midoriya informed him about everything before their trip to Nabu Island, and told him that Bakugo also knows. Goku is trying to help Deku use high percentages of One For All, giving comparisons between it and his ki, but then Bakugo walks out before telling Deku to hurry up with making One For All his own, so they can have a real fight, and he'll prove he will become the #1 hero. Bakugo then looks to Goku, saying he better not think for a second that he will lose in their next fight either, and he will want Goku to go all out. Goku slightly laughs, saying he looks forward to it. Katsuma then arrives, telling the three that there is a villain, and Bakugo quickly grabs Katsuma, telling the boy to tell him where they are. Goku, Deku, and Bakugo, who is holding Katsuma, then all rush towards the castle ruins, where after arriving, they see a giant mantis. Bakugo tries to fight it, using his stun grenade attack on it, but he then realises the creature has no shadow, so he stops trying to fight it. The mantis then hitting Bakugo, but Bakugo goes straight through it, as he then slammed into the ground to stop the illusion. Maharo then says that's unfair, that thing was super scary and he just stood there, and Bakugo is furious at the child, beginning to walk towards her menacingly as he shouts at her, but Goku grabs onto the back of his collar, telling him that they are just kids, and that's enough. The two kids then run away, Maharo saying how mean Bakugo is, but Katsuma says that he still went there to fight the villain. The next day, Deku goes out to do some hero work, and Katsuma apologises to him for the night before, telling him to tell the other two heroes that were there he apologised as well, and Deku and him then have a long talk, which is very insightful for both Deku and Bakugo, who is listening the entire time. Shortly after, Katsuma meets back up with his sister Maharo, and then a ship crashes onto the island with 4 villains standing on top of it. The villains then split up, 3 of them creating distractions for the heroes, while their boss goes after his only target, Katsuma. Bakugo is in the hero agency office, when he gets a call from Maharo, warning them of the villain's attack, but Bakugo doesn't believe her, Deku then grabbing the phone, but then the line cuts out. Deku then asking Bakugo what she told him. On the beach, Goku stands face to face with one of the villains, telling Ojiro and Tokuyama to head back to the office and tell the others what is happening. He will deal with this guy before they return. The two don't argue with this, knowing how strong Goku is, so the two head off, while Goku cracks his knuckles, and the beast-like man standing across from him does the same. Goku senses around the entire island, sensing 3 other malicious presences, but he has to assume his friends are already aware of them, and are on their way to fight them. He just needs to focus on his own fight. The villain then says that he thinks introductions are in order for such a famous hero. He remembers seeing Goku in the news, so out of respect, he introduces himself as Chojuro Kon. Goku says that he appreciates the gesture, but he doesn't really care about his name. All he cares about is stopping him and his band of misfits. Goku then rushes towards Chojuro, landing a kick on the side of his head, but all it does is push his head a bit. Chojuro then grabbing Goku's leg and slamming him to the ground before picking him back up and throwing him back. Goku lands on his feet, saying that he can finally let loose a bit, powering up to the fullest in his base form as both Chojuro and Goku rush towards each other and trade blows. Goku is surprised. This guy is actually evenly matched with his base form in terms of pure strength, but luckily, Goku has techniques which Chojuro does not. The only problem is, Goku is deciding to not use them because he wants to test his raw strength against the villain, and he wants to keep it as a fair fight. Some of Goku's classmates then arrive, Goku thinking his classmates can handle this guy, and he tells them that he will go fight the boss while they deal with this guy. Goku's classmates saying alright, as Goku then kicks Chojuro back, before flying away, his battle with the other students of Class 1A then commencing. While this is happening, the villain known as 9 is slowly walking towards Katsuma and Maharo, saying that he's going to take Katsuma's quirk, but Deku gets in the way, taking the kids a short distance away and telling them to run before he begins to battle against 9, but Deku isn't strong enough to take him on alone. Bakugo then arrives, attempting to take on 9 as well, but the result is the same, and as Goku is flying in and is about to join the battle, 9 sees this and strikes Deku, Bakugo and Goku with lightning. Deku and Bakugo are knocked out, 9 then falling to his knees as his illness overtakes him, and Kirika arrives. Goku stands in front of Katsume and Maharo, being injured by the lightning, but he shielded some of the attack with his ki, so he is still in fighting condition. Goku knows fighting here isn't the best option though, as it will put the lives of the two children, along with Deku and Bakugo at risk, but luckily, he doesn't have to, as the other students of Class 1A arrive, creating a gust of smoke which blocks the villain's vision, as the heroes get a chance to escape, along with the kids. We now head to the siege of the castle ruins. One of the villains was already captured, so there are only 3 of them left, and the 3 remaining villains get split up by a preemptive strike from Class 1A. Goku is with the group fighting Chojuro, as they realise they won't be able to match his pure strength without Goku. Todoroki freezes Chojuro into the lake, but after he breaks out, he activates his partial transformation, and Goku now realises his pure strength and base form won't be able to match him, so he'll have to use his techniques and work with the others. While this is happening, 9 is brushing through other students of Class 1A, and Kirika is winning her battle against Tokiyami. But after Tokiyami gains some ground, Kirika gets enraged, and after hurting Ashido, Tokiyami freaks out, Dark Shadow going berserk and taking down Kirika, but Tokiyami is knocked out as well. Deku and Bakugo are now fighting against 9, while we head back to the battle against Chojuro. Ida kicks Chojuro with Recipro Burst, but it has no effect, Chojuro throwing him to the side before blocking a punch from Kirishima and throwing him into a wall. Goku then covers his hand in a ball of ki, uppercutting Chojuro into the air, where Todoroki freezes him, but after Chojuro breaks out of the ice, he is paralysed. Thanks to Osui's toxic mucus, he can't move, so to get out of this, Chojuro goes into his complete transformation. Chojuro then shoots a giant mouth beam, Goku firing a Kamehameha in response, and the 2 beams clash, but with Goku only being in his base form, his Kamehameha is slowly being pushed back. Todoroki then shoots a blast of fire alongside Goku. Goku and Todoroki slowly beginning to turn the tide of the struggle, but Chojuro then stomps on the ground, making Todoroki and Goku lose their balance as their attacks falter, and as Chodoro's attack is about to hit the pair, Kirishima jumps in the way, in his unbreakable state. Asui then throws Ida into Chojuro, who lands a kick on his face, making him stop his mouth beam attack, and Todoroki then begins to trap Chojuro in ice, as Goku flies up and lifts his hands into the air, attempting to make the biggest ball of ki he has ever made, but Goku accidentally begins to form a spirit bomb from the energy of the planet. Goku then throws a spirit bomb at Chojuro, Ida using the last of his Recipro Burst to run around and grab all his classmates before getting away from the blast radius. Chojuro attempting to shoot another mouth beam at the spirit bomb, however there is no effect, and then the bomb makes contact, creating a large explosion which destroys half of the island. We head back to the battle between Deku, Bakugo, and 9. Deku and Bakugo are both in the clutches of 9, and Deku decides there's only one way they can defeat 9. Deku's bloody and bruised hand reaches for Bakugo, Bakugo grabbing onto it, and after a large gust of smoke is cleared, 9 sees both Deku and Bakugo using One For All. Deku is using the final embers of One For All, while Bakugo is now the power's new wielder. Goku then lands behind them in his Akari form, saying that they can't have all the fun without him, and Bakugo says that Deku won't be able to achieve his dreams anymore. After this, he will be quirkless again, but Deku has accepted this, saying as long as Bakugo achieves it for him, then it will all be worth it. Deku and Bakugo then Detroit smash into the air, Goku looking in amazement at the power on display, as the sky clears for them. Goku, Deku and Bakugo then all rush towards 9, all of them dodging and smashing through 9's attacks, as finally, Goku, Deku and Bakugo all land a consecutive final kick on 9, with the remaining embers of One For All leaving Deku, and with that, the battle has come to an end. Sometime later, all the pro heroes arrive, after they retrieve the distress signal from Momo's drone, and Deku admits to All Might that he gave Bakugo One For All. After Deku begs for forgiveness, he passes out once again, but it is then revealed that Deku has One For All once again, and Bakugo no longer has its power or the memory of using it. Some time passes, and after Class 1A finish the rest of their scheduled time to protect the island, Class 1A are on the ship as they are about to leave the island. Goku is excitedly talking to Momo about his fight with Chojuro and the new attack he used, while Deku and Bakugo say goodbye to Katsuma and Mahiro. Deku's last words to Katsuma being that Katsuma can become a hero. And this is where we're going to end off this part. In the last video, we covered the events of the My Hero Academia Heroes Rising movie. However, in this video, we are heading back to the canon events of the series, and this episode takes place after part 1 of season 2 of this What If series. Hatsumi has told Goku that she has designed multiple hero suits for him to try on, and Goku walks to the room which Hatsumi seems to never leave, and once he arrives and knocks on the door, there's a huge explosion, which blasts the door open, and as Hatsumi is about to land on Goku in a very embarrassing way, Goku dodges out of the way. Hatsumi then brushes herself off, saying that she has built a changing room inside which has the outfits inside of it, so he can try them on and show her. She's excited to receive his thoughts. Goku is excited as well, so he goes into the changing room, and after a short time passes, he walks out in an outfit very reminiscent to Midoriya's, however it is orange and blue. Hatsumi asks Goku what he thinks, but Goku says even though he likes it, he feels too much like Midoriya in it, so he says he'll go try the next one on. Goku goes back into the changing room, now coming out in an outfit with white gloves and boots, a blue cape, and an orange and black base design. Hatsumi asks Goku what he thinks about this one, and Goku says he actually really likes this outfit. The only issue is, the cape could easily be used against him in combat if someone grabs onto it, and if he shoots an energy blast, the wind could blow the cape into it, which would then destroy the cape. There are still a couple more outfits, so he'll just go try them on. Goku returns to the changing room, coming out in an outfit with a full black and orange colour scheme. Yet again, Goku really likes this outfit, and really has nothing bad to say about this one. But the last outfit he has to try on just felt like it would fit him more, so he decides he'll try that one on first, and then make his decision. Goku goes back into the changing room, then coming out with the final outfit on, and the outfit is a blue, black and orange colour scheme. Goku tells Hatsumi that he thinks he will keep this one. He just feels like it fits him more than any of the others, and plus, it is really comfortable. Hatsumi says that's a great choice, and she'll keep the other suits in storage as backups in case he wrecks this suit like the last one. Goku thanks her before getting back into his school uniform, and then looking at the clock, realising he is late, so he quickly opens a window to the room and flies out of it. He was meant to meet up with Midoriya, Todoroki and Bakugo, as they were all going to go and do their work study with Endeavor's agency. Goku lands in the city next to Midoriya, Todoroki and Bakugo, apologising for being late and asking where Endeavor is. Endeavor then tells Goku that he is right behind him, and Goku turns in a panic, apologising as he didn't see him on the way in. The 4 students then begin to follow Endeavor, but as Endeavor begins to fly toward the villain before the shockwave is even heard, Goku is right alongside him. He sensed all the commotion in that direction and acted upon that. Endeavor scoffs, speeding up, and Goku is slowly falling behind Endeavor, as Endeavor takes care of the glass manipulating villain, and Hawks arrives after it is all said and done. Hawks then gives Endeavor a book about the Meta Liberation Army, making sure to repeatedly tell Endeavor to check the highlighted sections of the book. And while Endeavor thinks something is definitely up with Hawks, he isn't the only one. Goku has increased his energy sensing abilities, and when he focuses really hard, he can sense fluctuations in someone's energy, and the energy inside of Hawks is fluctuating like crazy. Goku decides not to mention this, seeing the serious look on Endeavor's face, and assuming Endeavor has noticed something is up as well. Hawks then flies off, and we now head to when they arrive at Endeavor's hero agency. Goku, Midoriya, and Bakugo are introduced to all of Endeavor's sidekicks, while Todoroki already knows all of them. But while this happens, Endeavor is in his office, and is beginning to read through the book Hawks gave him. Endeavor then finds a pattern in the highlighted areas, decoding Hawks' message about the Meta Liberation Army being the enemy, and the fact they have over 100,000 members. Not only this, but he also decodes that in 4 months, the Meta Liberation Army will strike. Endeavor then steps out of his office, saying he will watch over the 4 students himself, and they head to a training room. Endeavor having them all explain their reasons for wanting to join his agency for their work studies, and what they want to improve upon. The other 3 students give the same answers as canon, while Goku explains that ever since his battle with Overhaul, he has been struggling to activate that same transformation he used. He's been able to do it a couple times since then, but even still, he couldn't maintain it for long for some reason. It's like his energy was unstable, just like his emotions were when using it. Endeavor takes in everything that has been said to him, and they all then head off to the city. Endeavor flawlessly saving civilians, and taking down villains, while the students watch in awe. Todoroki realizes how Endeavor is propelling his speed, and Endeavor gives Todoroki and Bakugo the same task. They need to learn how to store up their power, then condense it, and fire it. They need to be able to release their maximum output in one flash, or with focused precision. Endeavor then gives Midoriya the task of continuing to work on his Air Force shot, until it becomes second nature to him, and to forget about the new power for now. First, he needs to be able to do 2 things at once without concentration, then after that, add something else. No matter how strong a power he may have, its foundation is built on steady accumulation of skills. And finally, he gets onto Goku's goal. Endeavor tells Goku that he needs to be able to control his emotions perfectly. He has seen firsthand and been told by others that when Goku is angry, he unleashes a power which is unrivaled even by himself and All Might. The only issue is, he has trouble containing and controlling that rage. Goku needs to be able to become enraged at an instant, but then be able to harness that rage and not let it consume him, as that is exactly what happened during Goku's battle with the villain known as Overhaul. Once Goku has achieved this, he will need to make sure none of that overwhelming power leaks out of him while he is in those transformed states. Endeavor has heard that Goku has done that with his weaker transformed state, so he can maintain it with relatively low stamina drain, but once he is able to activate that stronger transformation at will, he will need to be able to do the same thing with that transformation, but to an even greater extent. Goku takes this all to heart and agrees with Endeavor completely, but while Goku is taking in everything he has been told, Endeavor's eyes dart to a small, insect-sized robot, which he has noticed has been watching them, and with a tiny fireball which he shoots at the robot, it is destroyed. Endeavor thinks that this may be related to what he decoded from the book Hawks gave him, but Endeavor would be completely wrong. Inside of a lab, Dr. Ujiko is looking at a large monitor when the screen cuts to static. Dr. Ujiko damning Endeavor's perceptiveness, but it doesn't matter. He's got what he needed for now. Dr. Ujiko then walks to a purple test tube, and after putting a code into a keypad, the tube opens, and a man walks out. Dr. Ujiko welcomes the man, asking how the new body feels, and All For One smirks, looking in a mirror and seeing that Dr. Ujiko followed through. He entirely replicated that student's body, and now his consciousness is split between this vessel and his main body in prison. But unlike when Shigaraki was a vessel in canon, this body had no previous personality or consciousness, meaning All For One has full control. Dr. Ujiko asks All For One what their next move is. All for One saying that Dr. Ujiko needs to give him all the intel he has on Goku, so he can learn to control this new body, and all its tremendous power. After that, he will go in search of powerful quirks to steal. He already had the most powerful quirks from his main body transferred to this one, but he would like some other strong quirks to use just as a precaution. From that, he will also get great exercise in fighting strong quirk users, so he can gain a greater control over the power of this vessel. And once he has both a powerful set of quirks, and a great control over the original power of this body, they will first target the two strongest heroes, as to demonstrate his power, and coincidentally, the two strongest heroes are already with each other, Goku and Endeavor. And maybe he'll kill that one thrall Bratazuki Midoriya as well, as he uncovered that secret while in confinement. But before all of that, All for One tells Dr. Ujiko to fetch him his suit. And this is where we're going to end off this part. In today's video, we're going to be doing our very own What Ifs episode of My Villain Academia, covering events surrounding one villain in particular. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to be going over some stuff which has transpired after the last video ended. Since the events of the last video have transpired, All for One with a claimed body of Goku as a vessel has now begun his hunt for powerful quirks, which he'll be able to use to take on the likes of Endeavor and mainly Goku. While Goku, using the words of Endeavor, has been able to tap into Super Saiyan at will, and has begun his attempt to master the form like how he mastered Akari. But with Super Saiyan, it seems to be much more difficult, due to it having both a larger strain on the body, and it tapping into his emotions even more than Akari did. Goku has been meditating while in the Super Saiyan state, and he has sensed a very dark and malicious energy increasing in Japan. However, he can't locate it or sense the true depths of it. And even though he should literally be the strongest man alive right now, that energy he senses still has a drop of sweat roll down Goku's face. Endeavor then walks into the room, interrupting Goku's meditation, and Goku struggles to remain in Super Saiyan as he loses focus for a moment. And Goku then asks Endeavor what's going on. Endeavor tells Goku to prepare himself, as they're about to go on an important mission which goes outside the borders of Japan. And even though Goku is worried about leaving Japan, when the man with that malicious energy is roaming around, he knows that this mission must be important if they have to leave Japan for it. So Goku tells Endeavor that he is ready to go. We now head to All for One. He has just defeated another one of the many powerful quirk users in his conquest to gain powerful quirks. And this person happened to have a teleportation quirk, adding another useful ability to his arsenal, but he still wants to gain more. All for One has been building a set of quirks to use alongside this new vessel of his in order to defeat Goku, and All for One believes that he is on the verge of completing that goal. All for One uses his new teleportation quirk to teleport back to Dr. Ujiko's lab, and he asks Dr. Ujiko if he has located his next target. Dr. Ujiko saying that of course he has, as on a monitor, he shows All for One a small island off the coast of Japan, where a park ranger is unsuspectingly doing his daily patrol. All for One has an evil smirk, telling Dr. Ujiko that he will be back shortly, as he disappears from Dr. Ujiko's sight. On a small island, a park ranger with the name Lapis of the 17th Park Ranger Division is currently doing his daily patrol, making sure all of the animals are safe, but then he gets a strange shiver down his spine. Lapis turns around, a shocked expression on his face as he sees a menacing looking man, but for some reason they look familiar. It then clicks with Lapis. He remembers seeing this guy on the news. He fought alongside All Might. Lapis says that it's an honour to meet him, then asking what someone of his status is doing on a small island like this. But Lapis then has a terrified expression on his face as he sees a ball of energy appear in the man's hand, and as All for One then fires a ball of energy at Lapis, Lapis then creates a barrier around himself, blocking the blast, but he then gets sent flying back into a mountain while inside his barrier. The barrier then fades, All for One slowly walking towards Lapis, as he says that his quirk is very good for defending against attacks too powerful to counter normally. He will be taking that quirk off of him now. All for One then outstretches his hand, then doing a pulling motion towards himself, and Lapis is sent flying towards All for One, and as All for One is about to grab Lapis's face, Lapis creates a bunch of miniature barriers in its hand, and fires them towards All for One. All for One having to stop his grasp on Lapis to smack away these miniature barriers, but some of them do manage to hit All for One. However, All for One isn't even moved by them. All for One smirks, saying that it seems Lapis's quirk can be used for more than just defense. He's excited to see the extent of his quirk. Lapis begins to run away, hiding behind a tree as he thinks to himself that this guy's a monster. There's no way he can survive. And All For One then speaks to Lapis inside of his own mind, telling Lapis that he is correct. And All For One then appears in front of Lapis, smacking him through multiple trees. Lapis knows that he isn't going to be able to run away, so he might as well just try to fight back. So Lapis then covers his hands in miniature barriers, and he rushes towards All For One, attempting to strike All For One with his barrier covered punches. And while All For One is dodging and parrying Lapis's attacks, he is focused on Lapis's movements, studying them. All For One then kicks Lapis away, then outstretching his hand and lifting Lapis into the air, before slamming him into the ground, and as All For One then powers up a ball of energy in each hand, and is about to fire them at Lapis, Lapis then creates a barrier around All For One, just as he fires his attack, meaning All For One's attack hits the inside of the barrier, and Lapis sees a huge explosion from where All For One was standing. The smoke fades alongside the barrier, and All For One is seen laying on the ground, seemingly unconscious, and Lapis slowly walks towards him, thinking that he is lucky he pulled that off in the last second, or he would have been done for. Lapis stands over the body of All For One, thinking to himself that he guesses he should call the police now, but he should put a barrier around this guy first so he can't escape. But as he outstretches his hand to create a barrier around All For One, in an instant, All For One is gripping the back of Lapis's throat, grasping it tightly as he begins to smugly laugh. He faked his injury to his own attack in order to test Lapis's intelligence. Did Lapis really think he couldn't handle the brunt of his own attack? And did Lapis think that he didn't already have another defensive quirk in his possession? Lapis is unable to respond, however, as he is losing the ability to breathe, and All For One strips his quirk away from him. Lapis then laying on the ground and holding his throat in pain as he begins to breathe heavily. All For One looks down at Lapis, saying that if he is being honest, he didn't even use his full arsenal of quirks against him, nor did he even use his full strength with the quirks he displayed, or with his regular strength and energy attacks. Lapis was just a sacrificial pawn in his long game of chess. However, he will at least give him the dignity of dying along with the rest of his beloved creatures. All For One then flies up into the sky, looking down at the small island and creating a small orb of energy in his hand. All For One then flicking the ball of energy down towards the island. Lapis finally looking up and seeing the orb approaching, so out of sheer desperation, he raises his arms into the air in order to create a barrier to defend the island, but to Lapis's complete shock, nothing happens. That nonsense that monster was spouting must have been true somehow. He really did take his quirk, and this realization is the last thing on Lapis's mind before himself, along with the entire island he's standing on, is blown into oblivion. All For One then appears back in Dr. Ujiko's lab, Dr. Ujiko complimenting All For One, saying that his efficiency was outstanding as per usual, and All For One says that of course it was. With this new vessel and set of quirks he's been collecting, he's become unstoppable. There's only a few more quirks he needs to collect before he will then go after his only possible threat, which is Goku, and he will also kill Endeavor to show off his dominating power by killing the new #1 hero. Speaking of Goku, All For One demands that Dr. Ujiko tells him where Goku is and how his power has been progressing, and Dr. Ujiko first responds to the latter demand. Dr. Ujiko tells All For One about Goku being able to tap into that golden hair transformation at will now, and how he is seemingly attempting to lessen the strain of the form through maintaining it over as long a period of time as possible. Well, as for his current location, he isn't entirely sure. It seems he went on a World Heroes mission of sorts. Goku, Izuku Midoriya, Katsuki Bakugo, and Shoto Todoroki have went on a mission along with Endeavor and other pro-heroes, on a mission which goes outside the borders of Japan, but as to where they may have gone, he doesn't have the slightest idea. All For One is angered, saying that Dr. Ichigo had better figure it out. It would be rather unfortunate if he ended up dead before All For One even battles against Goku and Endeavor. A drop of sweat rolls down Dr. Ujiko's face, saying he will get to work on it now, and All For One smirks, saying very good, as he then says that he will go after his next victim tomorrow, before teleporting away, and Dr. Ujiko gives a sigh of relief. Dr. Ujiko then quickly gets to work on trying to find Goku's location, as he does not want to be on the wrong end of All For One's subtle threat to his life. But while he does this, Dr. Ujiko thinks to himself that All For One has been acting different, ever since he's been in this new vessel. It's like the biology of this vessel has altered his mind in some way. He seems more blatantly aggressive, and he seems to consider the thrill of a fight just as important as his main goal. He will have to look into this after he finds Goku's location. But with this thought on Dr. Ichiko's mind, we are going to end off this My Villain Academia part. In the last video, we covered one of the many escapades of All For One, as he was seeking more quirks in order to be unbeatable by any hero. And while he was doing this, Goku went on a mission outside of Japan, along with Deku, Bakugo and Todoroki. But now, they have finally returned to Japan, and are back in Endeavor's Hero Agency building. Now Goku is back in Japan, he can focus on that malicious energy he sensed before, so Goku begins to go into deep meditation while in the training room. Goku is trying to lock onto the energy he felt before, as he knows he needs to figure out what is going on before anything terrible happens. Goku is on the cusp of locking onto the energy, but then Goku hears the door to the room open, ruining his concentration, and Goku opens his eyes, seeing Momo, as Momo runs up to Goku and hugs him, asking how he has been. Goku is confused, wondering what Momo is doing here, but Momo then says that she just wanted to see him. They haven't got the chance to see each other in person for a while, so she decided that she would come and see how he is doing. Goku says that he's really happy to see her, and as Goku is about to hug Momo, Goku senses danger, and he quickly wraps himself around Momo, shouting for her to get down, as the building around them explodes. Goku and Momo then open their eyes, Goku letting go of Momo as he sees the ruins of the building around them, and the dead bodies of Endeavor's sidekicks. Goku and Momo get worried about their friends being dead as well, but then they spot a giant dome of ice, and as it melts, they see Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki and Endeavor standing there. Todoroki panting, and Endeavor diligently looking around. Goku and Momo run over to them, Goku asking Endeavor if he knows what happened, and Endeavor says no, but he then glares into the sky, and says that he assumes that man has something to do with it. Goku looks up, seeing the outline of a figure, but as Goku looks closely, the outline looks kind of familiar to his own. All For One then teleports in front of the group, greeting them, and then saying that he is surprised that they all survived. He knew Goku would, but not the rest. Everyone looks in shock, as someone who looks just like Goku is standing directly in front of them, and Goku asks who they really are. All For One telling them who he really is, and saying that he is here to take out the only person who could ever defeat him now, though he doubts that Goku could even touch him with the power he's acquired. Goku tells the others to stand back, cracking his neck and knuckles, and saying that he will deal with this pose for himself. Endeavor then telling Goku to not be so arrogant, but Goku looks to Endeavor, saying that if this guy is even remotely close to the same power as himself, then Endeavor stands no chance. That isn't being arrogant, it is just telling the truth. And besides, if he needs help, then he is free to jump in, but only if he needs help. Endeavor scoffs, wanting to argue, but knowing Goku is correct, so with that, Goku decides to make the first move, rushing towards All For One and punching him directly in the face. However, All For One isn't even moved, and All For One then grabs Goku's arm, before punching him in the gut and kicking him back. Goku smiles at this, thinking that he will finally have a challenge after so long, and Goku transforms into Super Saiyan, thinking to himself that he knows All For One will have multiple quirks. He just needs to bait him into using them so he can figure out what they are and how to counter them. He can tell by the impact of his punch that All For One has the shock absorption quirk, but he has no clue how many quirks he has at his disposal. Goku tells Momo to create the thing, Momo nodding as she creates a red pole, and she throws it to Goku, Goku catching it and then throwing it directly towards All For One. All For One dodging out of the way, but then the pole extends, digging itself into the ground, and after that, Goku flies towards All For One, attempting to kick him in the face, but All For One dodges this kick as well. However, this was a part of Goku's plan, as he lands on the pole before bouncing back towards All For One at twice the speed, and landing a devastating blow to All For One's spine. All For One actually feeling this blow as he is slightly pushed back. All For One then begins to smile as well, thinking that he might actually be able to enjoy this battle, as he turns around, but as he is about to begin his assault on Goku, Endeavor has had enough of standing around, and shoots a ball of fire at All For One. All For One then creating a clone, which then shoots a ball of water directly at Endeavor's fire, cancelling it out. All For One then says that since Endeavor wants to get involved, he can fight his clone instead. The clone then grinning, as the clone then rushes towards Endeavor and the rest of the group, while the real All For One rushes towards Goku, and him and Goku begin to clash fists. Goku is surprised that All For One hasn't even transformed, and is keeping up with him in terms of strength, but All For One simply remarks that a simple strength quirk can really make all the difference. All For One then punches Goku in the jaw, pushing Goku back, and Goku then quickly powers up a Kamehameha, firing it at All For One, and All For One maniacally laughs, teleporting behind Goku, and he's about to hit Goku with an energy blast in the back. But Goku expected this, the direction of Goku's Kamehameha then changing as it curls directly to All For One, and hits him into the ground. Goku then flies into the air, getting ready for All For One's next attack, but then a bubble of water appears around Goku's head, and Goku struggles to hold his breath as All For One steps out of a crater in the ground, and is in a Kari. All For One laughs, saying that he knew fighting the real owner of this body would help him to unlock its true power, that he knows he is just touching the surface. All For One then electrifies a bubble of water, as Goku screams, and the bubble of water then disappears, as Goku begins to fall to the ground. All For One then flying in, as he is about to hit Goku with a barrier-covered punch, but Goku then bursts his aura, and All For One is pushed back. Goku is hovering in the air, and he tells All For One that he wasn't going all out against him, but now he will get serious. All For One saying that Goku is bluffing, but then Goku speed blitzes All For One, punching him in the stomach and knocking the wind out of him, before Goku then uppercuts All For One, and then Goku shoots a ball of ki into the air, which he redirects to slam All For One into the ground. Goku then flies towards All For One once again, ready to land another flurry of blows, but as Goku is about to punch All For One makes a barrier around himself, blocking Goku's punch, and the barrier then fades, with All For One rushing in and kneeing Goku in the face, before kicking him into the sky. Goku is confused. How did All For One just get stronger? And when Goku looks at All For One, he seems completely uninjured. All For One smirks, looking at his hands, as he's glad he stole a regeneration quirk, as even a shock absorption wasn't enough to handle the strength of those blows. Goku is irritated that he didn't catch on sooner, and All For One notices Goku's power slightly spike when this happened, intriguing All For One as he wishes to test something out. All For One rushes towards Goku once again, Goku doing the same, and he begins to brutally beat down All For One, but All For One is laughing the entire time. Goku keeps punching and punching, until he punches All For One into the ground, creating a small crater, and he fires a Kamehameha at All For One once again, but this time, it isn't effective. All For One is able to smack the Kamehameha away, and he laughs, his pupils first returning to normal, before All For One is then coated in a golden aura, and becoming a Super Saiyan. Not only has All For One been getting unintentional Zenkai boosts throughout this fight, but he is now using the same form as Goku. And with this, All For One decides it is time Goku gets a bit of his own medicine. It is now All For One who speed blitzes Goku, using Goku as his personal punching bag, before throwing Goku into the ground, and All For One then begins to power up a Kamehameha of his own. However, this one is coated in electric water, giving it extra power, and Goku knows he won't be able to avoid this attack, so he'll just have to try and counter it. Goku powering up the third Kamehameha of this fight, and the two then fire their beams at each other. All For One's beam easily overtaking Goku's, and Goku is stuck holding back All For One's beam with his bare hands. Goku is using all his energy to hold back the attack, but eventually, Goku has no more power to hold it back, so the beam explodes on Goku. Goku being heavily injured, and reverted to his base form. Goku lays on the ground, barely being able to move, as he turns his head, and sees all his friends bloodied and beaten just like he is. Goku can sense all of their energies, and they are all fading fast. The only one still standing is Momo, but that's just because the clone of All For One saved her for last. The clone All For One then grabs Momo by the back of the neck, and the real All For One forces Goku to not turn away from what is about to happen. Momo stares at Goku, with tears in her eyes, saying that she loves him. Every moment she has spent with Goku has been the best moments of her life. She is always smiling when she's around him. She always wishes Goku to be happy, even if it means she isn't. She never thought she deserved Goku. Even now, she still doesn't believe she does. But Goku just makes her feel a way that nobody else ever has. Tears continue to pour out of her eyes, as she says that she just wants to be there for Goku. She wants to be the shoulder he can cry on, and she wants to make him happy the way he has done for her. Momo's final words to Goku are, "I could never live without you," as Clone All For One stops her from saying any more, as he crushes Momo's throat, and she dies. No resurrection this time. All For One says that he did Goku a favour. She was never going to stop talking at that rate. He's sure she had so much more left to say, but unfortunately, he just had to cut her off. All For One, along with his clone, began to laugh, Goku's expression being one of pure shock as tears flow down his face, like his eyes are waterfalls. All For One slowly walks to his clone, saying that he has done well, but as he continues to walk towards his clone, he stops, as it feels like the entire planet is shaking. All For One turns around, seeing Goku standing up as he pictures every single moment he spent with Momo inside of his mind. Goku then looks to Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki, thinking that if he fails, then his friends will die as well. And with all the pain and anger coursing through Goku's body, he finally snaps. Goku's hair begins to spike up, turning golden, but this isn't a mere Super Saiyan anymore. Goku's pupils fade, and a blue and golden aura surrounds him. Goku is now using his pain and rage to achieve a new level of power. Goku then blitzes All For One's clone, killing her with a single attack, and then Goku kicks All For One away. Goku then rushing towards All For One, and now the two have an intense battle, with both of them putting all of their power into their attacks. All For One creating barriers to block Goku's punches, but Goku then punches through all of the barriers, and sends All For One flying. Goku then dashing in the direction of All For One, with one fist outstretched, and Goku uses an attack called the Dragon Fist, and punches straight through All For One. And before All For One gets a chance to heal and become even stronger, Goku shouts that this is for Momo, as a ball of energy appears in each of his hands as he pushes them into each other, as he shouts, "Final Flash!" and a yellow beam fires directly towards All For One, completely eviscerating every atom of the villain. Goku then reverts to his base form, running over to his friends in Endeavour who are on the ground. By this time, all of them have passed away, other than Deku, who is barely clinging on to life. Goku tells Deku to stay still. He'll fly him to a hospital, but Deku looks at Goku, smiling, as he says it's too late for him. But Goku can still achieve his dream. Goku is confused, as Deku outstretches his bloodied hand, and Goku holds it with his own. Deku saying that Goku is now the vessel of One For All, and he tells Goku that he can be happy. It may take a bit of time, but one day, Goku will be at peace, and Deku hopes by then, Goku will be the #1 hero. Deku has a cheerish grin while having tears in his eyes, but then, his eyes finally close, as Deku dies. Goku beginning to cry once again, as now, not only has he lost the person he loved the most, he has also lost his best friend. Goku screams in pain, then flying into the air, and a long distance away, Shigaraki was watching everything that happened. He didn't intervene, due to Dr. Ujiko instructing him not to, as if All For One wouldn't have been able to win this fight, Shigaraki wouldn't have been able to change the outcome. Luckily, All For One had a backup plan just in case this situation took place, and now, he is going to need Shigaraki's help to put it into motion. Japan would now be in a different place than it was before. Its #1 hero having to be replaced once again, as Endeavour was killed by All For One's clone. And even though a lot of the populace believe Goku should become the new #1 hero, since he has proven multiple times that he is the strongest hero, Goku is still just a kid, so it is decided that Hawks, the previous #2, will become the temporary #1 hero. And speaking of Goku, he hasn't been seen by the public since the day of his battle with All For One. He hasn't been seen in school, or in any public place. Goku's been taking some time to think about everything, visiting Momo and Izuku's graves every day, as he thinks about what he could have done differently. If only he didn't hold back against All For One at the beginning, maybe then they would both still be alive. The only person who has even seen Goku during this time is All Might, in one of the times All Might was visiting Izuku's grave, and that is where Goku told All Might that he is now the wielder of One For All, and he confides in All Might about every way he's been feeling. The main body of All For One is sitting in a prison cell, realizing that the biology of that kid's body affected his mind. The idea which he is currently having Dr. Ujiko execute will be different though. He is sure of it. All For One then hears through the speakers in his cell that he has a visitor, All For One awaiting the arrival of his former rival All Might, but when the door opens, All For One is pleasantly surprised, as Goku is the one to walk into the room. But this is where we're going to end off this part. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this season, and if you did, then make sure to like, comment, and please do subscribe. It is quick and easy to do. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to Mystic Angel, Yeti Myth, Cam McPherson, Mega Exo, Jonathan Way, and Dormite for becoming channel members. If you want to be shouted out at the end of the video and give a perks like the channel members here, then there is a link in the description down below to become a channel member. It greatly supports me and it helps me immensely. With all that out of the way, if you want to see a season 3, which covers the journey of Goku in Japan after all of these events, then make sure to get the full series video of this series to 5,000 likes. And yeah, goodbye guys.